And those who are not here, they will have the recording on YouTube. I'm going to put it there and share the link in the group. So basically, risk assessment is one of the most, I can say, one of the most important topics that are always been covered, especially for interviews of safety officers. I know that yes, when we attend our NEBOSH classes or trainings, the very first thing that we are being told is when you want to do your risk assessment, you have to know the steps in carrying out the risk assessment and the hierarchy of control. It's very important. And there are so many things that if you say, it actually depicts if you're a professional or not. For example, you can be going for a safety, you've gone for a safety interview and they ask you, okay, they want to carry out a walk at height activity. What are the type of control measures that you put in place? Once you just start saying that helmet, wear your safety shoes. Definitely, if I'm the person interviewing you, I will know that you are a fresher or maybe you don't have the experience because whatever you say as a health and safety professional, you have to follow the hierarchy of control in which we'll be looking at shortly. So most of you have your NEBOSH, IGC, most of you are preparing for safety interviews. This presentation today is going to help you. I tried as much as possible to simplify it such that even those without training will understand. But if you have any questions, please just put them in the chat box and we are going to talk about it later. So for now, I just had the presentation of the housekeeping rules. It's very important how we dress, how we present ourselves during the meeting because the recording of this session is going to be shared on YouTube. So the way we dress, the way we appear should actually depict some sense of decency, you know. So that's why we
Okay.
have this, but I'm not going to proceed with this.
Portable. Portable. Please, can you give me other book? Thank you, madam. Other.
Please, if I mute you, don't unmute yourself when you don't have something to say, please. It's really distracting us. So if you can see my screen, just put a thumbs up. If you can see my screen, please. Great. So yes. So basically, I'll just start because we don't have time. The most important thing, whenever we want to look at a risk assessment, we have to start from the basics. And if you don't understand the basic, that's when you have a challenge. The first thing is you need to understand what is a hazard. And what is a hazard in a very simple way in which we can define it? A hazard is anything that has the potential to cause harm. For example, walking at height. Let's say you're standing on the ground or on the floor. Your 2 feet are standing on the floor, right? You have a lot of stability. But when you start walking on a ladder and the ladder is inclined, what happens? There is a chance for you to fall. And that's what we talk about walking at height. And when we look at walking at height, you're looking at a height of about 1.2 meters and above. So as long as you're not on the ground, then you're not stable. There is always a chance for you to fall. Also, whenever you're moving on the road, or maybe you're walking in a construction site, for example, you have a lot of vehicles moving. Let's say the heavy equipment, you have cranes moving, you have JCBs moving. So once they're moving and you're moving also in the same vicinity, what happens? There is a chance that that heavy equipment could hit you. There is a chance of collision. There is a chance of an incident. So that's why we are talking about a hazard. How do you identify a hazard? Even in our homes, we have a lot of distributors around. We have a lot of cables where we have our televisions in the hall. How do we manage those cables? Sometimes we try to use a scotch or a sellotape to try and tie those cables just because we don't want to spend money. And we know that it's all good. Okay, take for example, there are kids at home and cables are just exposed. What can happen to those children? So when we look at safety, safety is not only about our workplace. Safety resonates around us, where we live and where we work. So when we understand what is a hazard, then definitely we can do a risk assessment, because once you are doing a risk assessment, you're actually identifying a hazard, and you have to picture it in your mind. What can go wrong? What can you put in place to prevent it from going wrong? Those are the kind of things that have to come up in your mind. And know that everything is good and everything could still be a hazard. For example, we have our digital phones. We use the phone to call our loved ones. We use the phone to do many things today. But if you connect the phone on charge and you sleep on it, what happens? You have radiation. It's not good for us to do that. So everything could be good if you use it the right way. But if you abuse it, it becomes a hazard. So now we are going to focus our attention at workplaces. Most especially, we are using a case study of a construction site, because many of us will have jobs in the construction site, or many of us have had a job, or we are working in a construction site. So it's going to help us to understand how to prepare a risk assessment. Your company will come to you and say, John, I expect you to prepare a risk assessment for working at height. You go to AI and say, AI, can you, or ChatGPT, prepare a risk assessment for working at height? Within few seconds, you have the risk assessment with you. Identify hazards in the construction site. Within few seconds, you have all of the hazards with you. But there is one thing I want you to understand. Once you have those hazards that have been identified by ChatGPT, ChatGPT does not know where you work, because where you're actually working, there could be people around you. There could be people doing other activities that have not been identified by ChatGPT, because you didn't give the the system the prompt that there were people around you, there are other activities. So ChatGPT cannot identify all of that. But when you use the critical thinking part of you to actually come up with these hazards, come up with your control measures, and use what AI gives you as a guide to facilitate the process, then definitely you will have a very good risk assessment in place. So please don't rely on AI. I always tell people this, it's very important. And now, when we talk about a hazard, I think now we understand what a hazard is. The next thing we have to look at is risk. What is the risk? This is what we're looking at right now. A risk is the likelihood by the severity. So when you combine likelihood and severity, that's when you have risks. I'll give you an example. You have low risks, you have medium risks, we can have high risks. Now, Mr. Ita, can you hear me?
Perfectly, sir. Can hear you
Very
very
good.
well.
I have this question for you. If you're standing at a height of 2 meters and you fall from a height of 2 meters, and let's say Mr. Roland stands at a height of 5 meters and he falls from the height of 5 meters, which one has a higher risk?
Mr. Roland's height of 5 meters, because falling from a height of 5 meters, it depends on the angle it's going to fall, and with the influence of gravity, the impact on his body, the injury might be so high compared to a height of just 2 meters, sir.
Very good. Mr. Roland, do you agree with what Eta is saying?
For me, I think the severity are equal, because yes, the height might be different, but mind you that the speed difference is just about few meters. So, but the severity will be the same. First, we have to understand that you still have injuries which will be sustainable as the same. Head cracks, bone fracture, you still have the same bone fracture and head cracks. You might have wounds sustained. So I think the severity are high, is equal.
Okay, so when you talk about the severity is equal, so now I'll ask you again, Mr. Roland, if someone falls from a height of 5 meters and someone falls from a height of 2 meters, which one is more severe? Who will sustain
The
more
severe,
injuries?
the one who sustains severe injuries will be the one of 5 meter height.
Very good. So now the likelihood this remains the same because you're working at height, but the severity of 5 meters will be higher than the severity of 2 meters. But the likelihood, because all of you are walking at height, right? But the severity changes based on the length or the distance. So you cannot compare the severity of someone falling from 2 meters to that of someone falling from 5 meters. But as long as both of you are walking at height, then the likelihood that you can fall is the same, right? Unless controls are being put in place. So these are the kind of things that we need to understand. These are the small, I can say, the small differences or confusions that we look at. But don't worry, while we go deeply into the session of today, you understand what we have. So we all know these steps. This is what we capture in our NEBOSH IGC. Once we are studying, they'll tell you the steps in preparing a risk assessment. You know they have 6 steps. What's the first step? The first step is to identify a hazard. Trust me, if you don't know how to identify a hazard, you cannot prepare a risk assessment. That's 100%. You need to know, as a health and safety professional, one of the key takeaways that you can take from this session is how to identify a hazard. You must know what a hazard is. After identifying this hazard, you need to know who could be harmed and how. Let's say, for example, if a worker is walking near a crane or a heavy machine, there is no segregation. There is no barrier that separates the worker from that machine. What happens? There's a chance that that machine can hit that worker. So in that case, what is the hazard? The hazard there is the heavy equipment. Who could be harmed? The worker, because the worker is walking near that equipment. And how? You can have a stroke by, you can have a crushing hazard. So there are so many hazards that will come across, but you need to know. You need to identify the hazard. You need to identify who could be harmed. You need to identify how will this person be harmed based on the situation that you have at hand. And the next thing you need to look at, is you need to evaluate the risks. So basically, once you have identified the hazard, you need to look at the risks and ask yourself, okay, fine. Is it a high risk? Is it medium risk? Or is it a low risk? So that's when we as health and safety professionals, our judgment comes in place. For example, there is a lot of jaywalking. If you want to cross a road and the speed limit of that road is maybe 20 kilometers per hour, you'll see that you can easily cross. But I'll ask you this question, Mr. Bradley. I don't know if you can hear me. Mr. Bradley, can you cross a highway of a speed limit? Let's say, let me not put it as a highway, the road from Dubai to Abu Dhabi, with the cars driving from Dubai to Abu Dhabi. Can you cross that road?
I see.
Sorry, your background is noisy. Let me look for someone else. Mr. Patrick. Mr. Patrick, I can see your name in front of me. Mr. Patrick, can you cross the highway from Dubai to Abu Dhabi if you want to go to the other side of the road? We cannot hear you. You're muted. Mr. Patrick, are you there? Okay. Okay, so if Mr. Patrick is not there, I can see one of my big safety officers, Mr. Claude. Mr. Claude, the big engineer, can you cross the road from Dubai to Abu Dhabi, the highway?
No, it's impossible. You can't.
Why?
Because the speed at which the cars are on cannot actually permit one to cross the road. Because if you cross that road, you will probably be hit by a car, which will make the same.
So let's use that scenario. We want to do a risk assessment in that scenario. So now, what is the hazard of that highway? What do you think could be a hazard?
The vehicles.
Very good. So who could be harmed?
The person crossing the road.
Very good. And how can the person be harmed?
By the car will hit the person.
Okay, that's a very good point. That's a very good point. So now when we look at the evaluation of the risks, that's why I want the answers to come from you guys so that we are studying together. So now when you're evaluating your risks, we have two types of risk metrics. We can have a 3x3 metrics and we can have a 5x5 metrics. So what's the difference between a 3x3 metrics and a 5x5 metrics? So most of the risk assessments that you have been taking from your friends, you will see a risk metrics, but I'm not sure if you ask yourself or you know the difference between a 5x5 and a 3x3 risk metric. So we'll be looking at that as well. So once you have evaluated the risks, you need to apply your hierarchy of control. And your hierarchy of control is very important. And it's not only in your risk assessment or the document that you use, but everywhere in life. And your hierarchy of control, you have elimination, substitution, engineering, administrative, and PPE. Never say PPE whenever you're asked for control measures. PPE should be the last thing that should come in your mind. If you're talking about PPE, it means that elimination is not possible. Substitution is not possible. Engineering controls are not possible. Administrative controls are not possible. In that case, PPE is the only thing that you can use to actually remedy the situation. But we'll be looking at a lot of those things and then we'll try to see what we have to do. The last thing is you have to record the findings. Note that you have identified the hazards. You have identified who could be harmed and how. You have evaluated the risks. And after evaluating your risks, now you come up with your control measures. And why are you coming up with control measures? Because you want to reduce that risk to an acceptable level. In life, you can never eliminate the risks 100%. You can reduce the risk to an acceptable level, but you can never eliminate the risk. That's one thing that you should know. And the last thing is you have to review and monitor. Why do you review and monitor? You review and monitor for continuous improvement. For example, you have these control measures that you're putting in today, and those control measures are working. But after 3 months, the government changes the laws. After 3 months, the type of cars that are being used have been changed. So the control measures that you were having 6 months ago might not be applicable to those control measures now. So now you have to go back to the document, to your risk assessment and look at it and say, oh, are these control measures still effective to reduce this risk to an acceptable level? If the control measures are effective, then you can allow the risk assessment and you review it again after 6 months. But if the control measures are not effective, what do? You have to carry out the risk assessment process again, or you have to actually come up with new control measures. Before we deep dive into the control, the hierarchy of control, I want to ask anyone here, or let me see. I need 5 people to give me the response. Do you carry out the risk assessment alone? Anyone can unmute yourself. I just need response from 5 people.
Can I
No,
speak?
you cannot carry
No,
out
sir.
risk
You can't
assessment
carry
alone.
it alone.
No,
Yes.
no,
No.
you
That's
cannot
good.
carry it alone.
Why?
not
Why do you not carry out your risk assessment alone? Come on, you're a safety officer.
Because,
You did NEBOSH
because it's a
alone.
collective work.
Amazing. Why do you actually involve other stakeholders?
You involve them because you cannot know it all. Those with more experience who are more used to with the environment and has a broad knowledge with the work giving. I think they'll give you more clue about the safety measures to be implemented and how to eliminate them. So you cannot do it alone.
Amazing. Okay, let me ask you a question. So since you guys are saying that you cannot do a risk assessment alone, yes, Peter, your hand is up.
Okay, my reason why you can a single person can't do this assessment alone is because as a human you have just 2 pair of eyes and then you can't see everything at the same time. Your point of view might not be the same as someone else, so that's why you need more persons to assess the risk management.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Ghislaine, I can see you.
Good
Ghislaine
evening,
also
bro.
is one of
Good
our senior safety guys in the building. So I think maybe we can put Ghislaine's picture up so everyone can see. Ghislaine, where are you hiding?
Okay, let me turn on my camera because
Yeah.
put on my video. I was actually attending two meetings, So I had to. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Prof.
Good evening.
The major reason why we involve people, one of the major reasons rather why we involve people in carrying out a risk assessment is a risk assessment is not just a document. It has to be implemented after it has been developed. So the key reasons in involving other stakeholders is for the successful implementation of the document. We can, after we identify the hazard, we can collectively identify the hazards, develop all controls, state all sufficient mitigations. But in the implementation stage, we experience lapses and a lot of lagging controls. So one of the key reasons why you involve all stakeholders in this process is to ensure a successful implementation of the risk assessment. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ghislaine. It's always a privilege to have you around and all the senior professionals. Thank you. I hope that you guys are going to teach the juniors in the house so that they could be as good as you are. That's a very good point, okay? And another reason why I would tell you is that, take for example, Frank is a safety professional, right? And I'm called to carry out a risk assessment maybe in Nigeria. Let's say there is a road walk in Nigeria. Yes, I've been living in Dubai for 10 years, and now I have to move to Nigeria to carry out the risk assessment. I'm like, no, I don't need the workers. I don't need the supervisor. I don't need anyone in Nigeria. I'm good. I want to do it on my own. I'm going to fail woefully. Why? Because one, I don't understand how Nigeria works. Secondly, I don't do the job. The workers doing the job are the ones that will tell you the challenges that they face. They will tell you the hazards that they are being exposed to. And the feedback that you get from the workers are very important to feed in your risk assessment. That's why no matter what you do, AI can never get those key inputs because AI will never talk to the workers. AI will give you a risk assessment, it will give you a structure. But once you consult with the workers, then definitely you'll see that it's easier for you to actually come up with control measures that will help them. For example, if you go to AI and say, prepare a risk assessment for roadworks in Nigeria, AI will just give you something within 5 minutes. But now, do you know if those workers, where they are working, have drinking water? AI does not know. AI will assume that maybe there is water. Do you know if they have a good toilet to use or welfare facilities? AI does not know. Do you actually know if those workers are fit to work? AI does not know. So basically, as a health and safety professional, you need to study your area of work, the scope of work. You need to know your stakeholders. Oh, sorry. You need to know your scope of work. You need to know, oh, sorry. Please, guys, I don't just want to go and keep muting people again. We have a very short time. Let me get done with the presentation so we can discuss together. Just try as much as possible to mute yourself, okay? So AI will not know all of these challenges. And when you talk to workers, trust me, you understand the barriers that they are facing. Because once you are there to prepare a risk assessment, you're there to help operations carry out their work safely. And once you actually get the buy-in from the workers, once you talk to them and they tell you that, oh, for example, Mr. Clarkson, we don't have drinking water. Oh, Mr. Clarkson, from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. it's very busy. We need a small shaded area where we can rest. Now, those are things that you capture. Those are the kind of control measures that you go up to management and say, for this work to be done safely, for us to deliver this project without accidents, to ensure that workers are safe, these are the challenges. These are the control measures that we are saying. We need to get a small rest area. We need to get proper welfare facilities. We need to get maybe a small flask where we can put in water for workers to drink. Maybe we can give water bottles to the workers because where they are working, it's in the desert or maybe it's very far from the city. So all of those things are things that you have to think, you have to capture. And after talking to the workers, what is the next thing? You talk to their supervisors to understand. Now you understand the challenges from the workers. That's the first point. You have to understand the challenges from the supervisors actually supervising those workers. After understanding the challenges from those supervisors, Mr.
Yeah.
Ben, after understanding the challenges from the supervisors, now you go to the manager. You go to the project manager, you go to the civil engineers, and you understand from them. I think Courage says she cannot hear me. If you can hear me, just put a thumbs up, please. Great. So Courage, please just check and see. I don't know, but I think others can hear me. So before carrying out your risk assessment, before identifying your hazards, who could be harmed or how, the first thing that I will tell you is for you to identify the key stakeholders. It's very important. Once you have identified the key stakeholders, then all of you can come together and you say, oh, I think about this. Maybe in a construction site, there is noise hazard. The worker will tell you there's too much dust, especially in the morning when we come. Before we start working, there is dust. What can we do? You have to do dust suppression. You can say, okay, based on this, since water is available, we can do dust suppressions 2 to 3 times in a day. That's also a control measure. So once you have identified your stakeholders, then now you can follow the risk assessment process. So now, once you follow the risk assessment process, the next thing is your risk metrics. You have 5 by 5 metrics and you have a 3 by 3 metrics. Now, for a 5 by 5 metrics, it's being used in bigger organizations, in larger organizations. A 3 by 3 metrics is used in smaller companies, like small workshops, it's used in small offices. But for big construction sites, most of them prefer to use a 5 by 5 metrics. And with this, I will try as much as possible to break it down. But after this, you can also try to do your research about a 3 by 3 and a 5 by 5 metrics. It's very important, especially for our young safety professionals in the group. Okay, let me just share my screen with you. If you have any questions, please just put them in the chat. Nancy, please look at them, and then at the end, maybe you read the questions and I'll answer. So this is an example of a 5 by 5 matrix. So based on the 5 by 5 matrix, you just have to multiply 5 by 5. It gives you 25. So here you have low, medium, and high. So for example, if your risks, let's say after evaluating the risks, if it falls between maybe 20 to 25, you can classify it as very high risk. In that case, you need to take immediate action. For example, you see a worker walking at a height of 10 meters without using a safety belt. Let me not say a lanyard because many people might not know. The worker is not using a safety belt. Maybe the worker just takes the hand, anchors the hand on the stick, and is trying to do maybe painting works. In that case, the risk is very high. So you have to stop the work. And why do you stop the work? Because you're following your risk metrics, and you know that the risk is very critical. So in that case, if that worker falls, you have a fatality. The person dies on the spot. So whenever we see this thing, we need to know our risk metrics. We need to know which one is high risk, which one is medium, and which one is low. So for example, if you go to a construction site, you're coming up with control measures, and you see a low risk, you don't focus on the low risk. You see medium risks, you don't focus on medium risks. Now you have to focus on very high risks. And now, once you focus on the high risks, it doesn't mean that you will neglect the low risks, because the low risks as well can lead to near misses, it can lead to incidents, property damage as well. But now, the main reason why you focus on the high risks is very simple: zero incidents. You don't want a fatality. You don't want a case in which a worker dies in your site. So whenever you spot such activities or something that is not safe, please, as a safety professional, don't compromise. That's the case where you have to stop the work. But when you see medium risks, don't stop the work, like stop the work and that's it. No. You can tell them that, yes, you can halt on this process. Now, what can we do to make the process safe? So a lot of challenges, or let's say what we as safety professionals used to do back in the days is that when we see something that is not safe, we don't even follow the risk metrics. We just stop the work and say, go and bring your supervisor on all of this. No, if you know that it's a medium risk, you can bring the supervisor, you can bring the foreman and say, okay, this guy is walking without a helmet, but maybe he's not walking on top of a building. Maybe he's walking on the floor, but the side rule states that he should wear a helmet. This guy is walking without a helmet. It's not safe because maybe someone is walking somewhere, something can fall on his head. In this case, can you try to coach your workers to wear their helmet? What do you think we can do to ensure that the workers wear their helmet? You, as a safety professional, don't always go ahead to say, no, if he does not wear the helmet, I cut the salary immediately. No. You give room for the supervisor. You give him that respect and tell him, okay, what do you think we can do? How do you think we can approach this situation? Why? Because it's a collaboration. You need to work with him. Maybe your project has to run for 5 years. And if you start fighting at the beginning of the project, what happens? They will kick you out of the project, not because you're not doing the job, but because you don't have the right way to communicate. You can be right, but what you're saying and how you say it is not good. So we should try as much as possible to use a communicative approach, to use a coordinative approach. How can we manage this? What can we do? How do you think that we can overcome this barrier in the future if we have this kind of situation? How do you think that you can do it? And I'm here to support you. When you talk like this to a foreman, when you talk like this to a project manager, to a project engineer, you see that instead of you guys fighting all the time, you guys now work as a team. And even if he wants to do something wrong, he knows that, okay, fine. Peter is here on the side. Peter has been very supportive. Peter thinks about the workers. Peter gives me the respect that I deserve. Let me try to see how to work with him. This is a general advisor I'm giving you. At the same time, you have supervisors that have never seen the four walls of a classroom. You have foremen that are very stubborn. They have been doing an unsafe work for 30 years, and they will tell you, I used to do this for the past 30 years and no one died. So why are you bringing this? But over time, people changes. People change, right? And over time, legislation changes, requirements change. In the past, there were a lot of unsafe things, but currently now, a lot of legal authorities are waking up. They want things to be done the right way. So the way you communicate your control measures matters a lot. And always try as much as possible to avoid any form of dispute. Always try as much as possible to avoid any form of queries. The way you manage your side depicts how professional you can be. So try as much as possible to listen to workers, listen to the supervisors, listen to project managers, and then work with them. Trust me, the moment you get the trust from the workers, the moment you get the trust from your project managers, the moment you get the trust from the leaders, your job will be very easy, because at that moment, you're actually developing a positive culture. And with that, you keep your site running over and over. And it's easy for you to implement what has been captured in your risk assessment. So we have the 3x3 metrics. It's very small, like I told you. And this 3x3 metrics is very small because it goes for smaller offices, just small offices, not like very big construction sites with high risks or maybe oil and gas organizations. So that's why smaller organizations will use a 3x3 metrics. So if you have been hired in a very big company that has a high risk operation and they're actually using a 3x3 metrics, it's always good for you to ask them, why do we use this? Why are we using 3x3 instead of 5x5? So once you ask them, you can try to find out and come up with control measures as well. You can also come up and tell them, okay, see, 3x3 is good, but based on the risk nature of this business, a 5x5 metrics will be much more suitable for this because of the following reasons. You start stipulating them, in which I'll be communicating that with you in time. So now, when we look at the difference, I've already told you the difference about this. So the 5x5 metrics is mostly used in construction sites, oil and gas, and large projects. But the 3x3 metrics is mostly used in offices and low risk environments. So we just move to the next, and the hierarchy of control: elimination, substitution, engineering controls, administrative controls, and PPE. As a safety professional, I will still repeat, whenever you're speaking, whenever you come up with control measures, try as much as possible to always start with elimination. Let me give you a very good example. that we can use that everyone here will understand because maybe we have had siblings at home. Imagine you're living in a house. It's just one small room. You have a child with you. Maybe not your child, your sister's child, your brother's child, okay? The child is with you and the child keeps crying all the time. Neighbors are telling you this child disturbs, we cannot sleep. If this child keeps crying, then definitely you need to look for another place. And that's the most affordable place that you can live. How will you control that noise? I need somebody to just tell me what they think they can do in this case. Because basically you're doing a risk assessment, right? The noise is affecting the neighbor. So in that case, the hazard is the noise. The second thing is who could be harmed. The neighbors could be harmed because they are not comfortable. They want to sleep. And how would they be harmed? Because the child is crying all the time. So it affects them from sleeping. And when they don't sleep, they have to go to work the next day. When they go to work, they are not productive because they never had a good rest. So what are the control measures that you can put in place? Let's say no one is wrong, okay? Just try as much as possible to share with me what you think. Who can try?
Well, I think that we can control it by putting sound protection.
Okay.
Which
So
we
yeah,
can
yeah, go ahead.
we can give a device like the one they put in the child's mouth, so that even if the child may want to cry, it wouldn't go out. It will conserve or just keep the noise within that particular room.
Okay, that's great. Nancy?
So I think we will try. Okay, I'm looking at it from the elimination part. We can try and see the reason why the child is crying. Yeah, could
That's
it the
the
child
first
be?
point.
Yeah, why is the child crying? So we need to make the child stop crying. So if they are hot, you have to bathe them. If they're sick, maybe you get them medical attention. If they're uncomfortable, maybe change the nappy or something. Just make sure the child is comfortable. And then then we can go to maybe getting soundproof curtains or something like that. But first things first, I think we have to make sure the child is not crying and look at the reason why the child is crying.
Amazing. Amazing. That's a very good response. So basically, guys, we are all right, you understand? But now, how we actually approach the question matters because hear what Nancy says. The child is crying, okay? We want to do let's say a risk assessment, yeah? And this is the case that we have. The baby is crying. Now, instead of us just to look for maybe, let's say we bring a soundproof or anything and put in the house, you need to find out why is the child crying. Maybe at that particular time in the night, the child has actually peed on the pants, or maybe the diapers is wet, they need to change it. The baby is not comfortable, maybe there is no AC at home. So you need to start looking for the things. What is actually causing that child to cry? Instead of you maybe just bringing those things, you see that, oh, the AC is not on and it's quite hot for the baby. So when you take off, let's say you put on the AC, the child sleeps well. You have eliminated the noise. But now, when you start thinking, okay, no, would I cut the child's mouth? Should I give the child whiskey and make the child high and sleep? No, those are not control measures, right? Those are not good control measures because fathers will not know what to do. Maybe some fathers will say, let me just give the child some Corona. The child drinks and then sleep, right? So basically, once we are trying to come up with our risk assessment, we need to start from elimination. You need to think, okay, how can we eliminate the noise? How can we see how to manage this situation? So you say, what about ending the child's holiday? Send him or her to the parents' house. That's still another option. You can send the child out, right? You can take the child to your sister's house. You have eliminated, but maybe the child is with you for long. So how will you keep doing that? So we need to look for a permanent solution, but that's still an option that works. So in safety, what we always have to think about is we need to look for a realistic approach and know that whatever we do, we always carry out a risk assessment without us even knowing that we are doing it. I'll give you another example. Before you cross the road, you look left or right. And if cars are not coming, then you cross. If you're not at the zebra crossing area, you run. But if cars are coming, what do? You wait. What are you doing? You're carrying out the risk assessment. And what is the hazard? The car that is about to pass. Who could be harmed? You. You know the car can hit you. What's the control measure? You wait. You wait for the car to go. Why? You're eliminating it. So once the car passes, the road is clear. Now there is no hazard. That's when you run. Because if you don't run and you're moving and singing, another car will send you to meet your grandpa or your grandma in paradise, right? So we always have to think, what should we do? How do we manage this? Yes, Nancy, I think your hand is up.
No, that's it. Actually, I was answering the first question.
Okay, that's fine. So now we always have to think, right? And carrying out a risk assessment, it's not difficult. So whenever you have a document, I'll be going, since we are about reaching 9 p.m., I'm just going to go through a sample of how it's been done at work. Yes, Courage, I'll take you and then we proceed. I think Courage hand is up. Courage, if you can hear me, just unmute yourself and speak. Okay, I think Gibson, can you go ahead because I cannot hear Courage.
Hi guys, good evening.
Good evening.
When you mentioned about the situation of having the workman, the foreman on site, and you are trying to control this that is being taken by the workers.
Gibson, please, can you just put it in the comment section because I cannot hear you at all. So just type it in the comment section and then or in the chat box, and then after we're going to go through. Okay, I think we just have to take Courage and then we proceed. Don't worry, for time constraint, let me finish what I have and then the floor is all yours. We can talk, we can dance, there is no problem. So Courage, if you're still there, please. Okay, so I think I'll just write on. So basically now we are going to take a case study, and this is how it works. In this case, everyone here is a health and safety professional, okay? When you go to work as a health and safety professional, you're supposed to prepare a risk assessment. So let's look at it. This is the project where you're working at. It's a construction of 250 villas. So it's going to be at Jebi Ali. And what's the scope of work? There they have to install precast panels. And now, what have they given you? They have given you a method statement. And who can actually tell me what a method statement is in less than 1 minute? Who can tell me what a method statement is? Who has not spoken today? Mr. Chair, I've heard your voice. The voice is very nice. Let me try and hear another person today. Mr. Ben, I'm looking at you. You look very happy this evening because of Ramadan. So tell me, what do you think? You're not wrong. Don't worry. Anything that comes in your mind, just share. You're muted, please.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Frank. A method statement is simply a document that shows the procedures that will be used in carrying out this job given to you by the project, by the engineers. Then you, as a safety officer, you have to follow this method statement to see if there's any risks associated in the job, in the carry out this job, to eliminate or bring in engineering control measures.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Mr. Azizi. Oh, I don't know if it's a miss or Mr. I'm sorry, but Azizi, can we have you? Then we proceed. Thank you so much. You're very correct.
I did not talk yet.
Yes, now we want to hear you.
Okay, thank you, Frank. I just want to say that a method statement, it is a document that gives all the details about the activities to be carried out. From the method statement, we will see step by step to complete the task from A to Z, all the tools, equipment, the manpower details to complete the task will be detailed in the method statement. So from each and every step of the activity, we'll identify a risk, the control to prepare our risk assessment. Thank you.
Very good. Azizi, can you just come swiftly? Bright, I'll get you after we are done with this. Azizi, if you're there for time constraint. Okay. Azizi, can you hear me? We cannot hear you.
Mr. Frank,
Yes, please.
can I ask what was the benefit of the method statement to a safety officer?
Without the
Mr.
method, someone was speaking, please proceed.
Sorry,
Yes,
Mr. Frank, good evening, sir.
Yes, please.
I was saying method statement refers
Okay.
to the document used to identify hazards and the tools, equipment that are likely to be used in a construction in any work to be carried during that period at the site.
Amazing. That's totally correct. So I'll just explain it to you, okay? So if you're working in this is just an example that we are using a construction site. It could be an office, it could be any workplace, it could be in hospitality, in a hotel. So if they tell you, prepare a risk assessment of, let's say, for example, work at height. Yes, okay. What about work at height? There are so many work at height activities. But when they tell you prepare a risk assessment, they need to give you a document that you can read. That document is what will help you understand the type of risk assessment that you should prepare. And that's a method statement. So the method statement will have the procedure in which they want to carry out a job. So for example, if you see what we are using here, we are saying a case study. So when we are looking at a case study, it means that we are considering the fact that each and every one on this call is a safety professional. So imagine that Frank actually gives you this project and tells you, prepare a method statement, prepare a risk assessment from this method statement. This is the content of the method statement. Everything Alide has said, everyone has explained. The method statement will actually give you the scope of work. If you see here, they'll tell you what's the purpose. The purpose is to define the safe system of work for the delivering, lifting, positioning, and installation of precast concrete panels at JB Ali, for example. That's the reason why you have this method statement. And what is the scope of work? They told you the method statement applies to everyone involved in. So now when you hear delivery of precast panels, even if you don't know what is a precast panel, delivering, it means that it has to do with vehicles moving. So when you start hearing delivering, it means that they have to bring the equipment, they have to bring the precast panels, they have to lift it from the vehicle that has brought it to a safe environment. So as a safety professional, the first thing is traffic management and logistics. Is your site safe enough? How will vehicles come into my site? Where are they doing their loading and offloading area? What are we going to use to offload this? So if you're having a crane, you have to start thinking, who is your crane operator? Is the crane good enough for work? Have you inspected the crane? Do they have the third-party certification? Now you have a crane operator. Do you have a rigger? Do you have a tack line? Do you have enough space to actually ensure that the boom can rotate freely without anyone walking from below? Those are the kind of things that you have to think. What is the weight of the precast panels? You need chains to use the crane to lift these precast panels. What's the safe working load of that chain? Can it actually lift that precast panels? So there are a lot of things that you have to start thinking. And once you're thinking, you start talking with the supervisor, because the supervisor is the one who knows how the activity is carried out. So once they start telling you, for example, John, I plan to bring this equipment, or let's say the precast panel, to the site. We are going to offload it here and we'll put it down here. So once he's showing you and you have that method statement, you're reading it, you now have to tell him, oh, this is wrong. If we put it here, it's closer to the fence. What if when we are trying to lift it, it actually damaged the fence? Let's put it maybe 1 meter away from the fence. What do you think? You guys start discussing. Okay, before the lifting, what should we do? We have to barricade this place. Who is the lifting supervisor? Do workers know that they are not allowed to come here? Do you have signages in place? So when are you planning to do these activities? What other activities are being done around this area? So these are the kind of things that you have to start discussing when you start seeing everything that is mentioned on your method statement. So once you are going through your method statement, in which I don't have all the times, if the activity is being done in Dubai, what is the reference law? You need to know the law, because what does the government state? For example, there's some Emirates that you cannot use a crane which is more than 20 years old, because you cannot see the load chart, the crane is not automated, the limit switch is not working. There's so many reasons. So if you have to work in Dubai, do you know what the legal requirements of Dubai states? Do you know what to comply with? So you need to know the legal requirements based on where you're working. If you're working in Nigeria, the laws of Nigeria might not be the same as the laws in the UAE. If you're working in Ghana, the laws in Ghana will not be the same as the laws in Pakistan or India. But once you have read the laws, you have understood the legal requirement, then you have to guide the team to ensure that the work is being done safely. We always say there are three reasons why we manage safety: for moral reasons, financial reasons, and legal reasons. So if you don't know the legal requirements, excuse me, trust me, you'll not be able to do the job. So you need to know about the legal requirements. Once you have known the legal requirements and the plans have been made, what else do you look at? You have to also look at the right PPE. Now you ask yourself, okay, we have workers on the site. Do they have the mandatory PPE? There is a lifting activity going on. Do you have lanyards? Because maybe they need to climb, maybe they need to support in actually fixing the shackles before you actually leave the precast panel. So there are a lot of things that have to be done. Now you start checking, oh, are the lanyards in good condition? You don't wait for the day of the lifting activities before you know that, oh, there are 10 workers that have to do the job, but out of 10, we have just 3 lanyards on the side. It means that you're not proactive. You need to coordinate with the supervisors to say, okay, fine, we have this activity coming. We have 10 workers available to do the job. Let's have 13 helmets in place. Let's have 14 safety vests, so that if any worker comes to work and forget about, maybe they forgot their helmets at home, in order not to delay the task or in order not to breach the site rules and regulations, we have stock available. So you can take that and give the worker. At the same time, you coach the worker not to do that again. So basically, when you're carrying out the risk assessment, it's for you to think about all of these things. And now, how do you think about these things from constant practice? When you keep studying, when you keep attending webinars, even when you study yourself, you also see other colleagues, what colleagues are sharing in the group. How do we manage this situation? How do we manage this? So once they're sharing all this information, this is how you become better day in, day out. So if you don't learn, if you don't push yourself out of your comfort zone, definitely you will not learn how to do this. You'll keep finding yourself asking for documents from other people, whereas these are easy documents that you can make it. Yeah, as well, you have the rules and responsibilities that will be stated in your method statement. They will tell you who are those involved. So you have the project manager, you have the site engineer, you have safety officers, you have crane operators, you have riggers, you have the workers. Now, another thing that you could easily be caught is that if you take a risk assessment, for example, working at height from another company, maybe their method statement never had a project manager, it had operations manager. And under your control measures, you just copied everything and you're putting operations manager. When they refer back to the method statement, they see project manager, and they look at your risk assessment, they see operations manager. It does not make sense. So whatever is on your method statement, that's what should guide you to come up with the risk assessment. So you should use your method statement to actually prepare a good risk assessment based on the information that is given to you from your method statement. So whenever you see the responsibilities, who are those involved, these are the people that you actually have to think about them. These are the people that you can consult to ask them, okay, with this activity that is being done, what are some of the controls that you think? You can go to a crane operator. He will tell you, ask a rigger. Riggers will tell you. A rigger might tell you that, oh, since I've been made a rigger, my friends don't respect me. If I tell them not to come here, they will look at me and say, who are you? You are not even an engineer. That's why we are coming. So now you can do a training before this risky activity. You can do a training, bring all the workers, call the rigger in front and tell them, this guy is a rigger. The reason why it's a rigger is because of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So once he tells you not to come here, please avoid this location. If you come in, these are the consequences. So once you have trained the workers, you have prepared your toolbox stock, and they have signed, and any worker that is not complying to what you guys have put in place or what you all aligned on, in that case, you can give now a warning letter or a violation based on your company's policies and procedures. So now, when we look at the method statement as well, you see the different types of equipments and tools. So if you are new to that business, if you are new, for example, you're just going to construction and you have never worked in construction, what I always tell people is go to a mobile crane. You can go to AI and say, what are some of the hazards attributed to a mobile crane? AI gives you that. You start writing them down. When you go to your site, you look at some of those control measures that you put with the hazards and see which one is applicable. The ones that are applicable, you tick them. The ones that are not applicable, you remove them. And then you talk to the crane operator. You talk to the riggers. They will help you a lot to know, okay, this is what is good. Why do we have a tack line? The tack line is there to control the weight of the load and the direction of the load. And also, when should you lift? So the crane operator might tell you, okay, all control measures are in place, but it's windy. We cannot lift at this moment. The foreman can say, no, you can do it. You have done it before. If the crane operator tells you, no, it's windy, I cannot lift because I'm not seeing. You, as a safety professional, you need to support him by saying he is the one doing the job. If he says that it's windy and he cannot see, we cannot proceed. If he's in a good condition to lift, then we proceed. So those are some of the things that you should capture in the risk assessment, and there should be always communication. Once they are communicating with the riggers, you are also communicating with them, asking them, are you in a good condition? Is everything okay? Because most of the times when operating this equipment, they can be tired, they can suffer from fatigue or stress, and some of them pass out along the line. Don't worry, Nancy, I'll get to you in a bit. So basically, you look at the hand tools. What kind of hand tools do you have as well? And how are these hand tools being managed? So all of that we are going to see. So the method statement as well carries all the process. You see, it explains to you, we are going to deliver our precast panels. This is the process of delivering. So when you're reading each and every point, that should guide you. Is there any hazard involved in maybe panels delivered using flatbed trailers? What are flatbed trailers? Which hazard can be involved in the use of flatbed trailers? You put those hazards down. What control measures? You go inspecting panels for damage. Okay, now if the panel is damaged, where should we keep it? Is there a designated area where we can keep damaged items? No, if you don't have it, you can create a designated area, and that is captured on your risk assessment as well. Ensure delivering area is clear. So now those are the steps. You use this now to come up with your risk assessment. Without a method statement, it's not easy for you to come up with a risk assessment. Now, if you go to AI, this is an example of a risk assessment that AI will give you. AI will tell you delivery of panels. For example, vehicle movement. That's a good one. They have even helped you to tell you that they have identified a hazard. What is the risk? Hit by vehicle. But now let's look at the initial risks. If you see the classification, you have 4x4 metrics, right? You have 4x4, which gives you 16. What are they using? They are using a 5x5 metrics. So in this case, if your company is a 3x3 metrics, and you're already running at 4 times 4, 16, then they will know that you copy this risk assessment from somewhere. So once you understand that, okay, my company uses a 5x5 matrix. If I see 15, 16, that makes sense. If I see 12, that makes sense. But if you're having a 3x3 matrix and the highest value is, the highest score is 9, and then on your risk assessment, you're having 25, you're having 16, that's a call for concern. Those issues could be flagged, and they will ask you, how do you have this when your document shows that you're actually having a 3x3 matrix? So in that case, you're being put on the spot. And if you cannot answer, you can lose your job on that exactly, immediately. The consultant might say, I don't need this guy anymore. We don't need him. He is copying the risk assessment from somewhere, and you cannot justify yourself. So this is an example of a risk assessment that is being done. So basically, I'll give you, I also brought in the risk assessment that NEBOSH has given us. This is an example of the NEBOSH version 5 risk assessment. Whenever you're doing your NEBOSH examination, you always see this risk assessment in place. So guys, look at it, for example. You will see that NEBOSH has actually told you, for example, this is a company, this is the site of the company, these are the number of workers. They have described the company for you. You have the description, you have the shift patterns, you know where the risk assessment will be done. It will be done in the garage and the spray boat activities. So they'll tell you which other relevant information should you include. They have told you the finance director has responsibilities for health and safety. They have also referred to the legal requirements and also how you identify the hazards. Now, once you have identified those hazards, what do? You come on the risk assessment table to prepare it. In this case, this is just the basic. This is introduction to safety. Yeah, you don't even have the risk metrics involved. But what I want you to understand is that, yeah, they have identified the risk category. But what you will be putting on maybe your risk assessment is the hazard, which is dust. This is dust here. And what is the explanation of dust? High process concentrations of processed dust. Who might be harmed and how? They have told you all workers, customers, and others visiting the organization. It means that anyone coming in could be harmed. How can there be harm? So they start explaining to you high concentration of processed dust are always present from the routine and frequent activities being carried out. Now, imagine Frank has never been there. Each and every one of us have never been here. But from reading this table, we can understand that, yes, they're talking about dust. If you go in, it means that everyone, including visitors, could be harmed. Now, there is high concentrations of processed dust. It means that there's a lot of dust in this area. Oh, before I go there, maybe I'll just take my dust mask. Now you start having a clear picture of how the work environment looks like. So basically, for those of you who are beginners or those of you who are preparing for your NEBOSH examination, the part 2, that's the risk assessment, is just to prepare you to be able to identify hazards. Who could be harmed? How? What are you already doing? What are the things that you're already doing to actually reduce the risk level to an acceptable level? So in this case, they are telling you that we are currently doing dilution ventilation. We just try to maybe open the windows at times. Maybe we use the local exhaust ventilation at times. And then they say they give dust masks to the workers. But now the safety professional says, oh, is that all what you do? The workers are saying, the supervisors are saying, yes, that's all what we do. What happens? The safety officers say, no, this cannot manage the risks. So in this case, we need further control measures. So if you look at these further control measures, it starts from elimination, substitution, engineering controls, administrative controls, then you have the PPE. And they also give you the time scale. When will you actually implement this action? And who is the responsible person? So if you see the further control, they tell you enclosed area to be set up for sanding or grinding operations. Maybe now sanding or grinding operations, they usually generate a lot of dust. So when you bring an enclosed area, you see that the dust that is being generated will be enclosed within that area only. The dust will not actually leave and maybe affect other people. So in that case, you have actually eliminated that dust. It doesn't mean that you have eliminated from everybody, but you have confined the dust to a limited environment, knowing fully well that anyone going inside that enclosed area should be trained, should understand that, yes, this is the hazard and this is what we have to do. It's the same like you going to the hospital. If you go to a theater room, you cannot just enter a theater room like this. No, you have to put on the right attire. You have to cover your hair. You have to put on the mask. Why? Because if they are opening someone's body and you enter and you have not been sterilized or maybe sanitized or you're not putting on the right attire, you might carry germs to that environment and the person might get infected in as much as you love the person. So that's why even in the hospital, we have control measures in place. They'll tell you, no, you cannot visit a patient at this time because the person is resting. You cannot enter this ward. You cannot come at this time. So all of these control measures are for safety. So basically, this is just an introduction to a risk assessment. We can do more sessions on it. We can have more questions coming in. So that's what I had for each and every one of you. So I'm opening the floor to the questions that you have. So we have 15 minutes to discuss about it and we can proceed. I think Nancy, maybe if you can go through the chat box. I think Abongwa's hand is up, and then Nancy, you can take over. So all the questions that we have in the chat box, you can just throw them in, and then anyone, if you think you can answer the question, please just put up your hand. I will call you to answer, and then we discuss together. So Abongwa, can you unmute yourself, please?
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, sir. I wanted to ask about risk assessment. Because you asked us, is it only one person that can carry out the risk assessment or a group of people? I wanted to ask, so there's a general risk assessment and there's another risk assessment for a specific tax, right?
Yes, of course.
Okay. That was just where I was confused. I just really wanted to.
Irrespective of the risk assessment that you're carrying out, you have to actually get input from stakeholders. You cannot know everything. If you're doing a risk assessment, for example, for drivers, you cannot prepare control measures for drivers more than drivers, because drivers are the ones who actually know the challenges that they go through. Maybe the points that we can bring up as safety officers is that, safety professionals, you should have a driving license. Maybe you're physically fit to drive. You shouldn't drink alcohol. Those are the basics. But the driver can tell you that, the car that we are using is not comfortable. The chairs that we are sitting on is not comfortable. So instead of you actually procuring these cars for us, we don't need maybe Teslas. We need maybe comfortable Toyotas to use for our drive, because we drive for 5 hours. And because of this, that's why we take off the seat belt. That's why we drink, so that we shouldn't sleep. So now you start saying that, you drive for 5 hours without rest. Okay, that's fine. So now every driver is going to drive for 45 minutes. After 45 minutes, you have 15 minutes rest, and you continue. So without you actually listening to the workers that are doing the job, trust me, you cannot come up with an effective or efficient risk assessment. So yes, Nancy, over to you.
Okay, before we proceed,
Okay,
I
sir,
had a
thank you so
question.
much.
No worries. Yes, Nancy.
Mr. Frank, I have a question. I have an answer to him also.
Okay. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Frank, I wanted to ask because this is one of the challenge we normally face also as safety practitioners are on site, where a safety officer sits in their office and derive a risk assessment on their own without full consultation with those involved with it. So what we practice doing is we must consult those involved, process owners, all right, in the activity on it, especially where they work, okay, at a place of work. If they're operating a machine, if we are conducting a risk assessment on a particular machine, we have to consult with them where they're working and to be able to come up with the right risk assessment. At first, most of safety officers, we always sit in the office and do it on our own. At the end of it, we are unable to come up with the right risk assessment, because we just do copy paste and from the internet and on Google, and accidents keep happening. So it's always advisable to consult those involved, and it should not be in their offices. It should be at the exact place of work.
Yeah, that's a very
That's
good one.
just laziness. That's just laziness for the side of the
Okay,
safety
sir,
officer.
thank you so much. I appreciate
Yeah, that's a very good one. What I'll tell you is that, see, they always say awareness is very important, because it depends on how you got the job as a safety professional, and it depends on who gives you that training. But right now, since you're starting your career, we're trying to build a very solid platform so that once you're getting into the field, you should know the expectation and you can work properly. Because even when I started, I didn't know anything, I always tell you guys, I'll go to the site, the laborers will give me chai and one paratha. I will just eat, and then they'll show me a place to sleep. I'll sleep, and then after they'll tell me, the boss is here. They give me a seat in front. I'm like, is this how this job is good? Is this how these people love me? But I never knew anything about the job, I never knew about the hazards and everything. So after a month, two, I started understanding, when they give me chai, I will drink, and then I will walk with them and start telling them, no, don't do this. They'll say, no, what is happening to this man? So chai stopped coming, paratha stopped coming. I had to start buying from my pocket. That's when I knew that, yes, things are getting serious. So we don't want you guys to go through those mistakes. That's why you see I'm here creating this awareness and we are here studying together. That's why we have a community, right? It's not only for training. You guys should discuss what are the challenges that you have. If you're a safety professional, you go to work, you have a challenge, you can make a video of what you're actually having, put it in the community there so we can discuss. Other people can learn. I don't know everything. I've worked in construction, logistics, and marine, but I don't know about maybe you're in manufacturing, so you can come up with something, you put it there. We are all studying, right? The most important thing is for us to keep learning every day, which is very important. Yes, Nancy, you said you have a question.
Yeah, so regarding the supervisor, you said like if the rigging guy says there's no visibility, he cannot work. So does he report it to you as the safety officer first, or he reports it to the supervisor? And how do you come in? Like how does it usually flow?
So yeah, that's a very good question in which I'll just share with you what I do. Other people have other approaches. Other companies are different. Some companies might tell you report to your foreman, then the foreman goes directly. So basically, when you have a critical activity, if you're a safety officer, you have to monitor that activity. So once the activity is going on, you have to be around, watching and seeing. You have a lifting supervisor, you have a rigger in place, you have the foreman, but it's good for you to be there to actually watch that activity. So once you are there and the activity is going on, now the worker, the operator is communicating to the rigger, is communicating to the foreman. Even you ask questions, is everything okay? Are you seeing everything is going on well? And they're telling you yes. Okay, you can use the sign language. You don't need to go close to him. But sometimes they might tell you that, okay, they have a problem. Please, they stop the machine for 2 minutes and tell you, oh, I'm feeling dizzy. I cannot continue. Maybe I need 30 minutes to rest. I need 1 hour to rest. You cannot force him. So if the supervisor is saying, oh, I'll cut your salary, go and work, you are there to maintain safety because if an accident happens, let's say, for example, the load falls on someone's car that has been parked by the road and the police comes. The police will ask you for your permit to work, you have it. They will ask you for the risk assessment, you have it. They will ask the crane operator, okay, can I see your license? He gives the license. Third party certification, everything is there. They will ask him what happened. He will simply tell the police he was tired and he told you that he could not continue, but you force him to do the work. So because he did not want to lose his job, he had to do the job because you were forcing him. And the safety officer was there. There was no action. In that case, what will you do? You're in a big mess. So if he tells you and you tell them, okay, we have to stop the work, please, he's not in a good shape. If they are forcing him, you have to send an email stating that if anything happens, you have said your part because you cannot do more. A safety officer, you're an advisor. A safety professional is an advisor. You are not there to catch the foreman by neck or the supervisor to fight. No, you just go send an email, put the supervisor in copy, say what he said. If he said the work should continue, put everything, copy the project manager, send the email, and then you go to the project manager and say, sir, yes, this activity is going on. We are coordinating, but the crane operator says he cannot continue. The foreman is insisting that the work has to take place. So I've sent an email. If anything happens, the foreman is to be blamed. I'm not responsible. In that case, you did your part. You have documentation, you have evidence. If the police asks you, he was telling the supervisor, what did you do about it? You just show him, this is your email, this is your record. You sent it, and he insisted that the work should go ahead. There is nothing you can do. In that case, you're free. But if you have no record, you say, no, I told him that he should not. It's your word against his word. There is no evidence. So that's something that we have to be very careful. Your paper and pen helps you a lot in this field. So you need to know your job. If you know it, you don't need to fight. You just need to go send an email. If you are having a WhatsApp communication group, you can send the message, take a screenshot of it because they might delete the message. Once you take a screenshot, the date and time is there, save it on your phone. It will help you tomorrow. You never know when.
And this email, you're sending it to who now? To the safety team, or are you sending it to the supervisor himself?
So basically, it's that's a very good question because it all depends on your project. It could be a project where you're a safety officer only. It could be a project where you have a safety engineer that you're reporting to, and the engineer is there. It could be a
Okay.
project where you have the let's say the project manager. So you have to report to the project manager because the project manager is the head of the site. So if the supervisor is not listening and he's pushing the worker, maybe the project manager is even the one pushing that supervisor. So going to the project manager does not mean that it will be resolved. In some other cases, the supervisor might be pushing the worker because he wants to get a bonus at the end of the year. He wants to do the job very fast and make the project manager happy. So you should not always consider that in all cases, the project manager is the cost. So in that case, you just need to go to the project manager, do your job, report it, and that's it. And then you have it documented somewhere so that it can save you whenever you need it.
All right.
Hello.
Yes, please.
After we conducted a risk assessment, for whom we communicate the risk assessment, especially when
we cannot hear you clearly.
implementing the-
Sorry.
Huh?
Mr. Claude, is there anything for us?
Yes. How should one handle a situation where the safety manager takes shortcuts in safety procedures, especially when I feel like I'm not in that position to correct him?
So basically, that's a good question, and that's why I always tell you that we have to develop our leadership skills, and that's another thing that we can look at, and that's where your leadership comes into place. Because if you see that your manager is doing something wrong, people are different, right? There are some people that don't like corrections. There are some people that if you correct them, they'll look at you like you want to challenge them. So the first thing is that you need to know who your manager is. You need to know the kind of personality that he has. There are some people that are red profile that when you just talk to them, they just want to fight with you. So you need to know how you speak to him. And also there are companies that your manager is your God. So when we say that your manager is your God, is whatever your manager says, that's fine. So if you try as much as possible to tell him what is right, he might terminate you. So it's quite tricky. That's why I always say choose your battles wisely, right? So you might tell him that I saw this thing being done this way, but with my own little experience, I think this is how it should be done. What do you think? If he tells you that I'm the manager, I call the shots, trust me, if there's nothing you can do, you just need to wait until when you know that you can apply for another job and you leave. Because if anything happens, make sure that from your own side, you're doing your job. Because I cannot sit here and tell you that you can correct every manager out there, you can correct every leader. It means I'm lying to you, which I will never do that. So basically, whenever you study somebody, whenever you study the company, you know where you're coming from. You know how much that salary is helping you. If you know that your salary is the one keeping you in the UAE, at that moment there are no jobs. You don't just go and start arguing foolishly with your manager because you can get terminated, right? So you see that, okay, that's fine. In this place, this company is not conducive for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to update my CV. And when it's time, I apply. When I get something, I go. So you have a peaceful separation without any form of fighting. Because tomorrow you never know. You might get a big job and they'll tell you they need a recommendation from that manager. So based on the way you separated with that manager, that's what is actually going to impact your new job, right? So try as much as possible to avoid those form of conflicts. Understand people, know when to put your steps, how to put your steps. It's very important. That's another topic that we'll cover in another day.
Yes, Mr. Frank, I have a question.
Yes, please.
You said we need to communicate with the workers and the supervisors in order to prepare to know what they are going through in order for us to prepare a good risk assessment.
Yes.
But in my site, when I joined my site, I had a meeting with the supervisors and the laborers, and I was trying to inquire from them the challenges that they're going through while performing their tasks. Everybody was afraid. Everybody was telling me that nothing. I don't know if they are afraid of the management.
That's the first mistake that you made. You never have a meeting with workers in front of their supervisors because their supervisors are the one pushing them to do the job.
No, it was separate. It was separate. I had two different meetings. Yeah.
Okay, you just joined the company, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now this is the approach that I'll give you. When you join a company, the workers, they have not had your trust. That's the first thing. Imagine that I'm a laborer, okay? I'm earning 700 dirhams. My family back home needs money. My children need money to go to school. And I know that if I come to you as a safety officer, I don't know who your personality is. If I tell you that, okay, these things that we are doing, we don't really want to do them, but we are being pushed to do these things. Now, we need your support. They don't know if you're this kind of person that will go to the management and say, you see that safety, that laborer wearing the yellow helmet, he's the one who said it, that you don't support them. So in this case, I need, okay, now they'll provide everything, but what happens to that guy? Maybe after 1 week, if you bring a violation or something goes wrong, they terminate him. So what happens is that when you join a company, don't hurry to consult with the workers. Build your trust. Go close to them. Talk with them. When they are eating, take your food, go with them. Eat with them in the same place. Try talking to them, engage with them, ask them, how is your family? Do some toolbox talk, touch some emotional parts from them, Tell them, oh, this thing is very important. If you have a question, if you have a problem, come to me. When those workers know who you are and how you support them, trust me, you don't need to go to them. There'll be one or two that will want you to favor them. They always come to you and say, sir, the ones that greet you all the time, the ones that are coming to you asking you if there's anything, those are the ones that you need. Those are your spies. Call them and tell them what are the problems that you have. They will tell you. There will be some laborers that will like you, irrespective. They will just like you because they want to be safety officers, especially those that want to be safety officers. When they come to you, they'll tell you, I want to be like you. Tell them, it's easy, come. Take them, ask them, what are the challenges that you're facing? Let me help you. You don't need to tell me the name of the person. Just tell me what is wrong. When they give you those inputs, if they give you two, you manage those two, you come back and show them results. These are the issues. This is how I solved it. These are the solutions. These are the results. Now, if there are other things we can manage, that's how you keep building and they'll keep seeing results. If they come to you and they tell you one, two, they don't see any results. Whenever you go to them, they'll say, that one is useless. It cannot help me. So, but when they see that, oh, there is no water, after 1 week, they've seen a new flask coming in, cold water, drinking water for them to drink. Oh, there is no shaded area. After 2 weeks, a shaded area has been provided for them to rest. Everything will be made easy. The only thing is that you should learn how to fight for them. So take some time, earn their trust, and then you can do your job diligently.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm grateful.
Can I read the questions now?
Yes, please.
I have a question.
All
I have a
right.
question.
Biruk, would you mind writing the question on the chat box and then I'll read it out, or you'd, or how do we do it, Frank?
Okay, Nancy, I've just skimmed through the questions that we have. I've not really seen a lot of things that we have not covered. However, since it's already 9:33, I don't want to keep a lot of people here waiting. We
All
have
right.
the community, right? Please, let's discuss in the community as well. Let's try to engage whatever challenges you have. Put those questions. I'm going to reply to you, especially on Saturdays, but my weekdays are really packed. So whenever I see anything, I'll reply. We have Claude, we have a lot of senior professionals. Mr. Kola is there. They are always there that they can guide you. Mr. Clarkson is there as well. So they will help you early day. Those are senior safety professionals that can always support you with anything that you have. And also before we go on Saturday, we have made the arrangements. We have a recruiter. She actually studied in the UK as well. She has been working here and she works in one of the biggest banks here. So she's an HR as well. I've actually spoken with her. She has agreed to do a session with us on Saturday from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. So I want to encourage each and every one of you to please use this opportunity to come, attend this session so that you understand how many minutes they take to skim through your CV. What are they looking for? How does an ATS-friendly CV looks like? So once she explains that, you can ask all your questions to her because we are sitting at this back end preparing CVs, but we don't know how HRs actually receive our CVs and how they manage those CVs. But when we know from the other side, then it's easy now for us and it will be much better for us to actually prepare a good CV and send out there. So Saturday, it's a very important day for us to come together and we learn. The session will be recorded as well for those who cannot make it. and I'm going to share it. But at the same time, I encourage each and every one of you, please try as much as possible to engage in the community, ask questions, attend events. On Friday as well, we'll be live on TikTok from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m., just talking about general safety issues. And from the month of March, we are going to have specific topics that we are going to cover. At the end of the month, you receive a newsletter of what we have done throughout this month. And gradually, there'll be a lot of things coming up. If there are any topics that you guys want us to cover, please put them in the community. My assistant is there. She's seen everything. She's going to actually get all of these topics, and then I will put them on the poll. Whatever topic we are choosing, that's what we are going to cover next week on Wednesday. So before you go, follow all the social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We are doing a very good job on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. No engagement yet. So I'm just encouraging each and every one of you to go and share those videos so that we can also create the word. And whatever challenge you have, don't forget to put it in the group. And thank you all so much for creating out time. And lastly, I'm also trying to see how we can get certifications after attending sessions like this. So I'm working on it. And once that will be finalized, I will let you all know so that you can use them for your CPD. You can also attach them to your safety, to your resumes when applying for safety jobs. So time is over by 6 minutes. I'm sorry that I delayed, but thank you all so much and have a blessed night ahead.
Thank you so much, sir. Good evening to everyone.